Today we're going to talk about the exact process you actually need to follow to build your personal political brand in 2024. This is a big election year in both the United States and Canada. Lots of campaigns happening, and it's really important to consider your personal brand. We know that Mike and I, we both have agencies. We work with a lot of people running for office, but we also work with a lot of private sector clients and nonprofits actually as well. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of because of a lot of the changes that are happening on the various platforms like Meta and Google is this new way of doing marketing. And it's changing so quickly. You want to be staying on top of this. The landscape has changed, and election communications has really changed in the last few years. On top of that, more voters are voting for candidates on issues rather than slates or sometimes even parties. In this training today, this exact process for building a personal political brand, we're going to walk you through the exact steps that you need to follow in a modern campaign to build your personal political and issues brand. By doing this, you'll grow your audience, your reach as you go into this year's election cycle, which is, I think, going to be invaluable to be elected and to be, I think, respected in wherever you're running. The key is to have an organic reach across multiple social media channels so that your brand and your messaging is like an ecosystem. We'll get into the details of what that means, but really it's about your stories, the things that you care about, keeping it narrow, focused. We've talked about this in the past if you've attended the lives or if you're in our course, is really focusing on one or two big issues, which we'll get into, and then just hammering those and using the social media ecosystem to your benefit through organic and paid programs. And I pass it over to Mike to take it from here.
Yeah, that's a great overview, George. As we go through today, really what we're going to talk about is 3 reasons why campaigns are completely different, even from 2022. And a lot of that has to do with media, but also the rise of independent voters and the sort of collapse of party affiliation across the US. And then we'll talk about how you can take advantage of that right now in your election, in your electoral district. So as we're going through today, I want you to think about where you want to run, if it's a state senate district or a congressional district or a municipal district or school board district. How many voters are there? Is it 100,000, 50,000, 200,000? And all we're going to talk about today is how to build your reach so you basically, before the election comes around, can reach all those voters all the time without paying a penny. And it's really the way new media is going nowadays, and we'll dive right into that. So really excited to dive into these strategies with you. It is an election cycle like we've never seen before, and we will walk through it. So it's all about building your personal brand. Let's walk through the 3 key changes to start on why this is so important now and why it's now more important like never before. Even when you saw Donald Trump and the new media and Obama and everything he did with digital, we've gone miles past that, even in the last 2 years with AI and the dispersion of media, which means you need to have your own channels and your own reach. So a couple big things have taken place. The first one is TV and video viewing has basically moved off of television and onto Reels, Shorts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, especially Facebook. So people, if you look at the big stories of the day, like the Middle East or Epstein, or even the primary, the Republican primary going on right now, presidential primary, people are really consuming this in short clips on their phone. TikTok shared to Instagram. They're watching podcasts talking about it on their phone. And it's all this dispersed media. No one's really going to that Fox News and watching the whole show or keeping the channel on. If they are watching Fox News or they are watching CNBC or whatever your news channel is, your local news, a lot of people are consuming that actually in shorts on their phone now. So you're watching your Fox News or your Joe Rogan or whatever you're into in short 10, 5-minute clips or even shorter on your phone and scrolling. So TV consumption is basically moved onto these social media channels, 2 of which, particularly TikTok and Instagram, are basically all organic. So the idea that you could buy a TV ad or get on the local news and then everyone in your district is going to see you has gone by the wayside. You actually need to build your brand and know who are the influencers within your district so you can reach people when the election rolls around. So this is basically a democratization of media and it's happened so rapidly, and you see it going on now. We pulled out a few examples here, but this is just a Vivek fan account that's reaching 100,000 people on TikTok. Just some guy. AOC reaches her entire district on a daily basis on her social media channels, and it's just crazy how now somebody can post one post and the entire district will see it right away. But you, on a small scale level, and if you're running for school board or municipal or whatever, can do that yourself. So we'll talk about that. Most of these channels now require a built audience, so paid advertising does not have the effect that it used to. You used to be able to buy a TV ad and everyone would see you, but that's not possible now. So we're going to talk about how you build it. You could also nowadays pay an influencer. So there might be someone who's really popular in your district, has a lot of followers. You could pay them to be on an interview on their channel, but that's like really hard to do. And maybe they're not aligned with you politically, and it's not going to be the right organization of the message and your brand how you want. So you need to build yourself as an influencer and on the issues. And George, any comments on just the changes in media landscape? You and I have agencies. We're watching it happen real time and rapid. TikTok itself, we've talked about the crazy growth. Even on Instagram or the other channels, you're watching TikTok videos.
Yeah, and I think that when I first got elected a long time ago, I had a big following on Twitter, which was actually even really effective that far back in 2011 when I first ran. And that hasn't changed. It's actually just become more important, but it's not just one platform, it's multiple platforms you have to be on. And it's really about your messaging too. But of course, as you Mike, and there's organic and there's paid organic. Then there's paid. So there's three levels of how you do your media planning and buying now. Mike and I are more of an advertising guys, although I come from the PR side and journalism side. Our approach is always like storytelling, but using a paid strategy to push that to the right audiences. There's having a bunch of followers is not what this is about. This is about getting your message to the people that you know are going to vote for you and they are going to champion you and talk about you and share your information. So people go, this person, yeah, I think they sound like the right kind of person to vote for. And you have more control, even though sometimes it feels like it's a bit out of control, than ever before right now.
Yeah, and we will talk about later on, we get into the process very shortly about how you can make sure that the people following you are in your district or where you're running. The next major change is this is a smaller one, but online is the new grassroots. It's a different world we're living in. People are used to Zoom, they stay home. A lot of people work from home. A lot of voters are at home, consuming from home. So it's really hard to hold an event or a rally or something of a subsequent decent size out in the community like it once was. These have often been replaced now with digital events or Zoom webinars or meetups like that, or even people just getting live on the phone. So it's like online buying. Everyone was nervous to use the credit card even 5 years ago, but now everybody does it. And so the same things happen with voter and voter outreach. People used to love to do that in person and they wanted that contact, but now people are comfortable getting on a Zoom, listening to you, getting on your social channels. So it's basically the voter is much more open to hearing from you and getting to know you in a social channel environment.
Yeah, that's not to say you shouldn't do live events, but for the purposes of
Yeah.
fundraising and, of course, connecting with especially younger voters. But because of COVID, one of the benefits is that people know what Zoom is. They know what shit these platforms are and how to use them. And they feel comfortable on them. And they are an awesome way to interact with people. It's not, again, this is social media. It's about talking with people, hearing what they have to say, really connecting. If you're running for office, you want to be doing that kind of main streeting kind of politician thing. It's really important to win. But now you can have this extra tool. You can go stand on a street corner with a pop-up thing and shake hands and kiss babies, but you have this added benefit of now reaching a mass audience, and you can drive people to these platforms through paid campaigns and through organic stuff to, like we're doing today, this kind of idea where live Facebook feeds and groups and getting people and other people have channels that you can be a part of that have a lot of followers that you want to reach. It's endless, the possibilities for you and your campaign to take advantage of this.
And it's a totally different world that people are campaigning in now and consuming media. The
Yeah.
final thing before we get into how you do this is this rise of the independent voter. So this is a crazy data from the Axios poll. If you look at 2004, which is on the far side of the graph, there was more Democrats and more Republicans, and it was about a third. we are now in an environment in this election, and or actually in 2023, but even more so in 2024, where you're going to have more independent voters that are affiliating themselves as independents, swing voters, than are total affiliated with both parties combined. So that's a huge kind of chasm that we just crossed. So if you are really strong in your Republican base or your Democrat base or on those core issues, that is not going to be enough to win you this election, which is why the strategy we're about to show you is so important. Because if you're only talking to the people that love what you're saying, it is not going to be enough to win an election in 2024. May have been if you're in a big district or an area that always votes one way, but more and more there's independent voters rising, and less voters are voting slate the whole way down. They may walk in and vote president one, but down the slate, they're voting for people they like or issues they like and personalities they like. And this is a huge shift that no one's really captured yet, but this data speaks for itself.
Yeah, totally, Mike. That's interesting. When we say there's independent voters, this skew that we're seeing doesn't mean they're not going to vote for you if you're a Democrat or Republican. What they're looking for is independence. They want to know what you stand for, that they can trust you. The party political machines, the cynicism out there is significant and across around the world. And so while you might rely on the party system to get you a lot of votes, that base, of course, which you need, your independence. And if you're running as an independent, you have an opportunity as well. But if it's about being independent in a way that obviously is not offensive to the party machine, it feeds into their base values and what they believe in, the party, but you show your own ways of telling that story through your own history, your own background, who you are, where you came from. And we've talked about this before. For those of you who've been there, you don't have to be everything. You don't have to know about all the issues. You only have to know about one or two. And it's really focusing on that'll drive the passion for you forward.
Yeah, let's dive right into the process that we've developed for you. One advice I'd give, we're working at presidential level, state level, and municipal level all the time. And I would say if you're a new candidate, first time running, just get started on building your platforms and building your brand. Don't be scared. It might sound like a lot, but just taking the baby steps, you'd be amazed how fast you can build up a following and opportunities open up. People like what you're saying. They want to hear from you. And so we'll dive into that. So do you want to talk a little bit about just the course, George, and then we'll get right into the process?
Yeah, for those of you who are new or those who've been with us, we created about 60 hours of training, taking you from every step of the way on how to run for office. Our true goal at the Campaign University was to find great people to run for office. We don't care where you are on the political spectrum. We just want great people to be interested and know how to run for office and how to win. And so the whole course that we created and everything we talk about is truly comes from our heart, where we're trying to show you a way to do that. So everything in the Campaign University course, the playbook, the training books, the manuals, all that stuff is now available for $8 a month. And you just go into our website, thecampaignuniversity.com, and you can click the links there and you can purchase it, and you can get immediate access to all the training that Mike and I have set up for you. The benefit of the system that we've built is you just do it at your own pace. You share with your team the lessons you're learning on how to run a campaign.
I think it's a great offer. If you're in the group, you can also come on calls with George and I once a week, which is huge. You can bounce ideas off us. Obviously, if you have campaign specific, partisan, or issue related questions, just DM us. We can do private calls to actually dive into those. We don't discuss, obviously, your issues on the group calls, but we can discuss campaign tactics and things you need to do, fundraising, all the rest. All that's in the course. But we want to talk today about the process for you building your brand. First and foremost, we're going to rattle through this. If it's a little fast, feel free to watch backwards or DM George and I. We do this all day long. It seems like a lot of steps, but it's actually only 10 kind of quick steps, and you just do them systematically and you'll be fine. So the number one thing, which you all know is very intuitive, but we really emphasize taking the time to do this, is know who you are, why you're getting into the race, what you stand for, what are your non-negotiables, those things that's why you're running for office, that they keep you up at night, the change you want to make in your community, and just really understand that about yourself and the reasons you're doing it as step one. Moving to step two, this is also, we go in great depth into it in the course, but I've put a link here for you. We did a training on it in the Facebook group. But before you start going out on social media and doing your videos and building your brand, You need to know the numbers and you need to know them really well and understand exactly what you're trying to achieve with your social media. So you're going to want to look at the area you're running, the margins the candidates have had in the past, the parties have had in the past. What are the demographics on the ground? In those demographics, what social channels, what other channels are those people on? How do you reach those voters? What's the income level? How many people are swing voters? How many are, Republican? How many are Democrat? Really get an understanding of the nuts and bolts on the ground. Then, even more importantly, you got to understand the issues on the ground. What are the numbers on the key issues? Maybe you're a crime candidate, crime and safety. What are the issues on the ground? Can you move the numbers on that issue? Maybe you're a healthcare candidate. Can you move the numbers on those issues? What is it? So if 60% of the people in the district I'm running want my issue on healthcare, that's great. But if 70% are against, maybe I need to retweak my strategy, how I'm going to win this election and not talk about that all the time. Very important that you run the numbers. We have a really detailed training on this, which is linked to in this doc. If you DM us, send the doc, we'll send it to you, a link to it after the training. But it's really going through the demographics, the past elections, and then making yourself a mathematical path to victory. The mathematical path works like this. There's 100,000 people in the district. 40% of them vote for my party most of the time. 60% of them really agree on my main issue. For the one lower income part of the riding, that is a really hard issue. But for the higher income, they're voting for it 80%. So I'm going to win the higher income area and then talk to the lower income area all the time to win 20% more of them and then take enough votes to get the riding and get those independent voters. So you actually make yourself a mathematical path based on your area and the issues that are there. And that's so vital because when we get into talking about social media and doing videos, you don't just want to throw a video out there and say, oh, I had 6,000 views. You want to throw a video out there that says, I had 6,000 views on the issue that's most important for me to persuade the most persuadable people in this area of my riding. And you've got to be super targeted and specific like that. George, any comments on just knowing the numbers and how they slice up?
No, Mike, you are the king of numbers. And I just listened to you go, how do you figure that stuff out? And Mike's training on that is pretty amazing. He taught me a whole bunch of things about data. Obviously, data matters. I always look at the data from the ad side and look at that stuff, which is really crucial. And the next stuff we want to talk about is really how do you okay, now you've figured out your issues. What do you do with that information? And so if you have, say, two issues, the key thing here at this point is to create two big videos. These can be like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you think it takes to tell that story on each of your issues. And the way it works is you can tell a hero story, you can take it from your own perspective, but there's no like hard sell here. There's no vote for me in this. This is really informational. You're just presenting yourself to the electorate, to the people in your constituency, in your neighborhoods, or wherever you're running, so that they can see who the real you is and the issue that you care about. If you have two or even just one of these that just really dives deep, don't make it too fancy. I don't want any like $6 million production fee here. Literally, you can do what we're doing here right now. You can do it as a Zoom call with somebody who's interviewing you. You can do it as a kind of a podcasting. You can
hold your phone up and do
hold your phone up. You can do it a whole bunch you can test it, try it in different ways. The key is to really think about what you stand for and how do you communicate that and tell a story or stories from your life or things that you've dealt with that have solved that solution and how you will do that when you're elected. So take that journey, that your own personal experience, your own expertise on an issue, two issues, walk people through what you've done in the past and how you will take that information, that knowledge, that skill, and your personality to solve that problem in office and how you're going to take it to there and you're going to fight for whatever that issue is and how you're going to do it. And then that's it. You don't go, so vote for me. Don't do that. Just hope that people watch this video. And the key is that's the key, because in digital marketing, it's really about getting eyeballs on this stuff, because that's where the gold is. Because then you, first of all, get followers, but then on an ad side, you can really go to town on that data.
Yeah. And so the other thing we're going to really emphasize here is there's people, a third of the states is on TikTok right now. 70% is on Instagram and Facebook. Everybody, almost 99% are watching YouTube somewhere. So you're reaching everybody in the digital landscape. and of course Twitter or X is effective as well, and there's
Mhm.
many other channels. But you're going to want to take the content that you make and have a channel on each, have your own brand and your own channel on each channel. Now, maybe your Instagram's really big and the other ones are all small, or your Facebook's big and the other one's small, but you want to make sure you post it everywhere because people's habits are different. And so you don't have to make a new post for each channel and take all your time, but whatever you post on your main channel, you're going to want to make sure it goes on all the channels. So you can slowly build a following up or across the channels. And that's just going to greatly increase your reach. Also using the hashtags, local hashtags of your town, of the issue, of the party, of your opponents, whatever it is, using the hashtags, and that's going to start to create this ecosystem, this social ecosystem. One tip I would give is, me as a very strategic person, or if you're working with George and I, you're going to be really talking about the issue and yourself in a very nuanced way. That's going to take a lot of time. You're going to set up that post. It's often great to have a volunteer or someone that takes your main post and then puts it out on all the other channels and manages
Yeah.
that for you, and maybe manages the comments. If you have a young volunteer that's good at social media, that's a great way to use them and plug them in, and then they can report back to you how the following's growing and how things are doing.
And the key here is one of the things, and this is changing quickly. As of today, it's fine on Google, but I'm predicting fairly soon they're going to make an announcement where they'll restrict a lot of the data that you can do. And what Facebook has done, or Meta, and Google's going to do, and they really want you to stay on platform. And so each of these videos, what Mike said, have all these platforms. You need to take that big video, and you have to put it on each of the platforms, and then drive traffic in platform to that content. So you create this circle so that people start seeing this stuff. So they see the big one, then they see the small ones, and you're sending people to the big one. And so you try to do this within each of the platforms that you're working in, because that's what Facebook and what Google and what TikTok, they don't want you to leave. And so when you're thinking about your social media content and your content in general, think per platform: LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter. Try to stay and use the platform's style, and think about that when you're creating your content to fit the platform, and try to make this whole ecosystem per platform. It can be the same content. You just got to kind of create this ecosystem per platform. And having that big piece of content then gives you the ability to know what else to say.
The beauty of it is this format where your phone is like this is, that is a TikTok, that is an Instagram reel, that is a Facebook story, that is a YouTube short, and it's all the same format. And so you can take that same video that you get into that vertical format and put it everywhere. You could take your long one and make 10 clips out of it and put the clips up all over all the time, as George is saying. So it's just amazing. So you start to keep posting. People are going to like your content. You're going to get followers. People are going to share it, and it's going to come in. We often recommend as well posting, as we have here, some personal content in amongst your political, you with your family, you with your kids, or whatever your family situation is, you out in the community shaking some hands, just some nice stuff to relieve the political, so you're not talking politics all the time, and people can really get to know you as a person and who you are, because so many voters vote based on that. I think every presidential election going back like 20 years, the person has won is the same person that would win the ballot of who would you rather have a beer with at a baseball game. So getting
Yeah.
yourself close and people know who you are, especially with the rise of the independent voter, is going to be so important. Now, we touched on it a little bit.
And just so Mike, they don't all have to be video, by the way. This can be
Yeah.
just a picture of you sitting at your computer. Hey, working on my latest speech for an event I'm going to be at tomorrow. Come see me. Or, hey, here I am with the kids. Or just don't. It doesn't have to always be video. Sometimes with Twitter or X, it's just words. Just type words out. That's fine. That also works on LinkedIn better. Some platforms content works better that's not video or pictures. So know your platform and do your content accordingly, but video really comes first.
100%. And we're going to show you a little trick that is now one of the most effective vehicles that you can use in your campaign. And this is both for building your brand, but once you get into the election, I cannot stress enough how much this is going to help you. So if you have content that's performing well, so let's say you do the year-long video and you notice it's getting a lot of views, a lot of likes, just in an organic sense. What you do then is you take that video and you make an ad out of it. So the very same post that you make an ad, you target that ad only to the zip codes of where you're running. So you know that everyone seeing that ad is going to be a potential voter in your election. And the call to action in that ad is actually to go to your main profile where people get a chance to follow you. So basically, you're running an ad back to your Instagram, or you're running an ad back to your TikTok, or you're running an ad back to your Facebook. And all of a sudden, your followers will just grow and grow. The beauty of this is you're getting now a built-in audience, and that's equity in your campaign. So by the time you're into October and September, every time you post, all those people are going to see it for free. It's going to save your campaign a ton of money, and it's such a good investment. Using this ad strategy to target people in your district and then send them back to your profile to build a following. It works. It's amazing. It's working like this right now. This is one of those kind of hacks in the digital system, like Facebook was for Trump, or the growth of digital was for Obama, where this is one of the hacks that's happening right now in 2024 that we may never see again, where you can build a following by sending people back to your profile. So it's a huge tip. And for the first 6 months of the year, this is going to be where you want to focus.
Yeah, 100%. And Mike, we'll be doing a separate, I think in 2 weeks, is it 2 weeks, Mike? We're going to do the deep dive into the back end of Meta, and you'll be showing us some of your techniques in order to build out an ad campaign. So you can see how Mike builds these campaigns so that you can understand the structure we're talking about. So we'll show you how we do this and how those ads work.
And we're also going to show you can do this same thing, which we highly recommend, on an issue.
Yeah.
You run this on George Affleck. He's running to be city councilor, and you build all your George Affleck pages out. Now, George, as we know, is all about financial common sense and watching the budget and being careful with the taxpayers' money. Now, he could do a taxpayers of our city account and build a bunch of following just around financial management. And everyone that cares about that issue would start to follow that account. Now, that account is actually George, and when the election comes around, he'll start to share his stuff onto that account. So you can simultaneously build your brand and your issues brand in your district at the same time, and it's amazing how well that works, and people use it all the time to their advantage. So this is a little trick we'll get into in the next training.
Yeah, that's right. And that all goes back to the first thing that Mike talked about, which is knowing your where you stand on a couple of issues. Because once you've figured that out and you've really focused it, everything else becomes much easier. Whether you want to do what Mike describes as a third-party kind of issues-based platform, or you just need to understand what you need to say in speeches, or when somebody comes up and asks you, what do you stand for? If you know those two things, it feeds into everything, especially when it comes to social media and your advertising. And it works. It truly works.
Yeah, it does. So George, so that's the process that we recommend. We have some links. As I said before, if you want this Google Doc, it has links to these training, and then it also has the process. Just write, send me the doc, and we'll send you the link to the doc as well.
Of course, just a quick reminder, as you may have, if you came in late, we really care about having people run for office that are great and going to be great for democracy. I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, left, center, independent, Democrat, Republican, conservative. If you're really enthused and care about democracy and care about our world, then we want to make it possible for you to run and teach you everything that we know. $8 a month is all we're charging for access to all the materials, plus a weekly private Zoom call with us, a group Zoom call. Plus, we're always open, our DMs are open, and you can always send us things, because I know in politics, unlike some of our other clients that we work with, you can't share your videos publicly sometimes, so we are happy to look at those in a private setting. We'll be having guest speakers that are pretty well known in the US that'll be coming up in the next month or so. Some high-profile people that I think are going to be really interesting. And so this $8 deal is, I think, really great. And we're really excited about getting people into the training, which you do at your own pace.
Yeah, really appreciate everyone watching today and watching later. We'll send you an email with all the details on this as well. If you want to talk to George and I about your race specifically, reach out to us as well by email or DM, and we can book one of those private calls while we still have time. But thanks everyone for staying on today. The next time we'll go through the process on the issues. And then, as George says, the next training will dive deep into actually in the ad platforms, how you set all this up, because it's pretty crazy what you can do nowadays.
It is. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike.
All right. See you guys.
Yes.